Everyone, I'd like to share about the labor experience in Japan that I had. When it was the day, it was 23rd of October, I went for the last checkup at the hospital in the morning, around like 10 o'clock in the morning. And doctor looked at me and he said like, well, it doesn't look like soon enough. So he told me if by the 1st of November you're not gonna have your baby, then just 1st of November get your trunk and come to the hospital. We're gonna help you to have the baby. And then I backed home. I went to the toilet and I saw that I was bleeding. And I reminded that they told me if you start bleeding, just call us right away. So I called them and they told me please come back. So I came back and doctor checked me right away. And he told me that I'm dilated like 3 centimeters. So he asked me, where do you want to go? You want to go home or you want to already stay in a hospital? As I don't have anyone here in Japan, I was worried and it's my first baby. So I told him like I'd like to wait in a hospital. So I checked in a hospital and I was just waiting in a room. So in Japan, they have like a maternity taxi. You can register, and by the time when the time comes, some people, maybe, I'm not sure because I didn't feel any pain, water didn't leak, anything, like if I would need 14 hours, like, okay, not 14, okay, if I would need like 5 hours to get to my hospital, I would have do it easily, like could go by walk, train, whatever. Like, I don't think it's really necessary to book for maternity taxi, but some people might want. Like, how is it different from normal taxi? Just when you will call it, they already will have in a system your hospital address, so you won't have to suffer to tell them in Japanese where do you have to go, and the seats are covered, and it's like pinkish inside. Okay, so when I was in a hospital, I was just waiting and I was like writing down my contractions as they asked me to. And well, I was dilated only 3 centimeters, and my contractions were like so often. And like for me, it was really very painful, but my doctor said it's not that much painful enough. And they were like so often that I was so like, it's as often as it's like in the when you are giving birth already. But then they slowed down, and it took really long time. They always tell that the first baby takes like the longest and it's more painful than the second and the third child. And I was just like sitting in the room. There was a TV, but I didn't want to watch it, and I just opened window and I was drinking a lot of water, and I regretted because then I started to vomit a lot and I couldn't eat dinner. um, and to give a birth my first child, it took 14 hours. So I was just sitting and looking at the like on the clock and just counting how soon will midwife come and check. And it was really long and tiresome. I really wanted to take a shower, but I just couldn't. I couldn't stand up. It was that much painful. They offered me to lay down, but it was like even more painful. I could have just sit and suffer. And then when I finally dilated like 9 centimeters, midwife insisted on me to go downstairs to the labor room. And it was like, it looked nothing like in a movies. It was just a simple bed and the room was like closed with no windows. And I felt like it was stuffy because it was so small. And they connected some kind of like, I don't know, strange things to my tummy to listen to the baby's heartbeat. And I really begged my midwife to do something, because then after I dilated 9 centimeters, my contractions like stopped. Like they were really like far. I felt like they were like, I don't know, 1 hour between every one of them, but that was not true. But I just had enough of time to like sleep a little bit before the next one comes, and I was like shouting. And my water didn't break up to like last moment because my midwife broke my water actually. And after the water broke, she said usually it takes like 2 3 pushes and the baby is out, but because she said usually white girls, they don't, as she told me, white girls, usually more difficult to give birth, and because we are not so strong against the pain and our contractions are not strong enough. So that's what she told me. Like it took me maybe 20 pushes to finally give birth, and she was telling me, don't push because the contraction is not strong enough. That little thing also was like printing some papers that they could see how strong was my contraction. And she said, like, your contractions are so weak, like you shouldn't try to push. But I was so tired, and I just wanted to see my baby sooner. So I was even pushing when there was like no contraction at all, and often I lied to her, like, I feel it's coming, I feel it's like a weak one is coming, I want to try. And I ask her to help, so she like stick the fingers inside of me and help the kind of the to go to to make the way for the baby, I guess. It was really helpful. It wasn't that painful after she did it. And when I was pushing, um, she was like shouting, okay, push, push, push. And at some moment, when the head is out, you have to stop pushing. But I was like already in a rush, and she's like, push, push, push. And I was like, okay, I push, and then she's like, no, don't push, don't push. And I'm like, I can't, sorry, I can't. It's like, it's automatically, it's just like automatically it's pushing. And I was just crying and saying, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. And in my country, before you actually give a birth, they force you to go to the toilet for number one and number two. But in Japan, when I asked for that, and they told me it's okay. So I kind of like peed and poo there. So I guess that's not the best job, being a midwife. So it's like, I guess if you have this experience, because I felt extremely shy and depressed that she had to see that, and my husband had to see that, and the doctors had to see that. It's like, it's kind of dirty, disgusting. So probably you should insist on going toilet before. And after I gave birth, I was like, so tired and exhausted, and they had to sew me like a few stitches because I was pushing without contraction. And then midwife asked me, the question, okay, can you stand up and walk like upstairs to your room? And I was like, no, I can't even move. So she brought a cart for me. And then when I was already in my room, I had like a neighbor over the curtain. And when she was giving birth, like, she came up by herself when she was pregnant, came up, put her stuff, and then like next day, I saw her walking up the stairs like all by herself. After she had a baby, she could walk. Like, that was like so amazing, because I remember myself. I was like, I'm close to die. So that time I thought maybe it was true that Asian girls are stronger than white girls. Mm, like, I'm so curious what you think. If you have some opinions about that, I'd like to read it in the comments. Thank you.